Been seeing a lot of people post this particular slide diagram on multiple accounts. So thought it was kind of interesting. Wanted to talk about it. So this is the cost of home ownership 1990 versus last year, 2025. So basically today. And like I said, I've seen a lot of people talk about it, commenting on it from other realtor posts and even some of my just friends outside of the business. So I wanted to look into it a little bit more as well. The median home price they're saying in 1990 was $96,800. Oh, those were the days. The median price now in 2025. And remember, this is looking at things from a national standpoint. So this is a report that was generated by Realtor.com, and they're saying it was $418,000. So if you look more so in the Chicago market, we're looking at more like 350 in the greater Chicago market. If you look more so where I do a lot of business, so South Chicagoland, South Side, South Burbs, you're probably going to be looking even less than that as the median home price. So this is, taking into account a lot of other places that have, higher priced homes, um, and looking at that. But still, that's a huge increase from 1990 to 2025. The biggest thing that I want to look at too is where the problem comes. It's like, okay, we got to factor in inflation and all these different metrics, and when we're thinking about the economy, but the median household income, $31,000 in 1990 and $85,000 in 2025. So looking at it across the country, we're seeing that the salaries and income did not grow in the same proportion that home prices did. And I think we're probably feeling that like everywhere, not just in home prices. We're probably feeling that, across the board with just expenses in general and cost of living. Okay. So, especially after COVID, so 2020, 21, we saw home prices really shoot up across the country. And again, those salaries going back from 1990 to now have not, grown in the same at the same rate. So the price to income ratio is 3.1 times. Um, and now we have the price to income ratio almost 5 times. And again, that shows you right there that it should be the same, you would think, but it's not. So now it's way more expensive to buy a house now compared to what you were earning your salary wise. Okay, now compared to 1990. So what do we do? Like, I guess that's my question for for everyone. If home ownership is still something that you really desire to do, this is not a live to come on and just say, oh, well, we got all the answers, still buy a home, blah 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 blah. It's like, okay, what do we do? What are our options if you are still interested in home ownership? You want to be an owner, you want to partake of that piece of the American dream. Like, what do you do? The typical down payment, 1990, 8,200. Okay. $8,200 compared to what they are saying is $41,000 is a typical down payment. Now, I want to push back a little bit on this one, because if they're saying the median home price is 418,000 and the typical down payment is 41,000, that's 10%. That means you're putting 10% down. If you were on the live last week when we had loan officer David Browning, uh, we talked about how you can put as little as 3% down. A lot of people are putting 3.5% down. So, if you're looking at let's just say a $300,000 home and you're putting 3.5% down, that's $10,000. So, you know, I feel like this down payment is a little higher. Um, than especially what we're seeing in the Chicago market. So that's a little, to me, that's a little inflated. But still, it's a big difference than, probably what the average down payment was on the south side of Chicago house back in 1990. Okay. Again, we're not seeing the same correlation with what we're making and what we're taking home, every 2 weeks, what we're taking home for the year. We're not seeing that same correlation with how prices, that increase with how prices have increased. So they're saying years to save a down payment. It took 3.2 years. Now it's taken almost 10 years. The age of the first home purchase was 30 years. You're a 30-year-old. Now we're seeing more people buy closer to 40. I do, you know, agree with this somewhat. We're seeing first time home buyers um, buy later, than what we previously did. I'm kind of curious, to know everyone's thoughts. Like, why do we think, people are buying later? Are there other reasons other than just the cost of homes and needing to save up that money? I see a lot of people want to buy their forever home, right off the bat. It used to be you would buy like a starter home and then live in that for some years, and then you would either sell that one or rent it out or what have you, and then go buy, a larger home. But now it seems like people are trying to buy that forever home off the bat, which is everybody's prerogative. Is that also contributing to people wanting to, buy later and wait? So, things are a lot more expensive than it used to be. Again, not just in housing, but in all different aspects, probably from vehicles. When we feel it at the grocery store, like eggs, like why eggs cost so much, right? But I want to say this: there are options for people who want to buy sooner, who want to, still partake in home ownership, even though we're seeing, prices are really high. And that's what we talked about with David last week. We talked about down payment assistance grants. There's a new program out. It's a down payment assistance grant up to $15,000. So you can get 6% of the price of the home. Okay. That goes towards your down payment, goes towards your closing costs. It's called the Access Home Grant. It's a new program from IDA, the Illinois Housing Development Authority. It's specifically for first time home buyers. Okay. Specifically for first time home buyers. There are other details that you need to know about that. Again, we talked about some grants and how people can use down payment assistance as a help last week. You got to read the fine print to know what those terms are. If you have to sell that house, if you have to, later on decide to refinance that house to get a lower rate. Okay. So housing is expensive. Save up your money, but you can also utilize some of these different grants to help you if you want to, use somebody else's money or kind of expedite your saving time frame. Okay. My other question is this: like, housing is expensive, but what are your other options if you're not purchasing? I guess that means you're renting. And what I constantly hear from everyone is, renting is super high too. So it's like, you're stuck between a rock and a hard place. Do you play, do you pay high rents? Do you, pay, a higher mortgage than you ideally would want to do? So I don't know. I don't have the answers. I mean, that's what everyone has to, determine on their own. Specifically, like what works best for you, what works best for your family. But it just seems like everything is high, and that's the world that we're living in. I thought personally that when interest rates were going up in 2022, like mid 2022, we start seeing interest rates go up from those, threes and those fours. I thought, hey, interest rates are going to go up. That means, you're going to have less demand for homes. Prices are probably going to start going down. But we have not seen that at all. Prices have steadily in the Chicago market across the board have steadily gone up year over year. So everybody's like, well, no, like it's high. It's high. So what do we do? If you still want to own, you're tired of paying, high rents. Well, I think the answer is, yeah, save up your money, realize like, hey, this is the world that we're living in. Like, how can we navigate that? How can we make the best of it? Utilize grants. If you have questions for me, send me a message. If I can't answer it, I'll hook you up with one of the lenders that I work with. They can answer specific details about these grants. Use those. Like, I have a client right now who's under contract for a home in Olympia Fields, and she's using that new IDA Access Home. She's a first time home buyer, so she's using the IDA Access Home where she can get up to $15,000 in down payment assistance grants. And we're also, negotiated for the seller to pay her closing costs. So there's not going to be a lot out of pocket, if any, that she needs to bring to the table. So really cool programs, really cool options out there. But like I said, it's still very alarming that, this is the situation that a lot of us are in, that our money ain't grow the same way that the price of houses have grown. So if you're still looking to purchase a home, like, hey, this is our reality. I'm not trying to paint this as being all just a bed of roses and everything's all peachy, but this is our reality. We got to accept it and learn what tactics, what strategies can we use to still accomplish the goal that of buying a home, which I still think has a lot of benefits to it for those who want to partake in it. So uh, we'll jump back on live sometime next week, probably back on Wednesday evening, and talk more about home ownership, talk more about financing and how to get some of these grants so that you can know what you need to do to purchase a home in Chicago. So stay tuned for more. Again, if you have questions, shoot me a message on whatever platform you're looking at, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and we'll love to assist you with